The protests continue in India. Doctors are holding candlelight vigils. Women's groups are marching on the streets, and our politicians are doing what they do best, turning a tragedy into a spectacle. We'll come to that in a bit. But first, the latest updates. The protests began after the horrific incident in Kolkata last week. A 31-year-old doctor was raped and murdered, that too at her medical college. Since then, doctors have been protesting across India. They are demanding justice and safety. And so far, the pressure has been ruthless, both from the doctors and the women's groups. They have been marching and protesting across major cities, and today, my dear friends, was no different. And what about the murder investigation? Well, the CBI is handling that, the Central Bureau of Investigation, India's premier probe agency. And they have many leads to follow. The victim's family says her colleagues may have been involved. Some interns and doctors at the college may have been involved. I'm sure that the CBI will follow that up. In fact, they have already summoned 5 doctors for questioning, which brings us to the politics of this matter. A few days ago, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee organized a march. She herself walked at the front of it. And what did she want? Death penalty by next Sunday. Basically 1 week to probe, to prosecute and to convict. Now don't get us wrong, all of us want swift justice for that young woman, but let's not ignore the reality. No court can deliver such quick justice, not even the fast-track courts. So this is not about getting justice, this is about getting political mileage. And the other side is doing it too, whether it's spreading fake news about the incident or blaming people without evidence. Such selfish moves don't help anyone. They only make a bad situation worse, and this is a very bad situation. Just think about it. A young doctor was raped and murdered inside a hospital. If a doctor is not safe inside a hospital, where are they safe? If a doctor is not safe inside a hospital, then who is safe? We can't just focus on redressal here. We must focus on prevention too. In the meantime, the Union Health Ministry has assured a committee for doctor safety, and it is now urging doctors to call off their strike. But let's keep the political developments aside once again. Let's focus on the far bigger questions on our top story, on our top talk tonight. To discuss this matter in further detail, as promised, joining us this evening at CVR English Newsroom live all the way from Lucknow, we have our special guest, Dr. Viveik Pandit. Dr. Viveik Pandit loves to call himself a writer first. He has found his oasis in writing. He has penned more than 20 books, By Mistake, 21 New Beginnings, Rani, Give a Damn, Men, No Pause, remain his proud creations. So we welcome you.
Hello, good evening.
Before we start our show tonight, just a bit of context here for all our viewers. Dr. Viveik Pandit is also a professor of management, an avid trainer, a life coach, a dedicated blogger and an avid traveler. Viveik Pandit's role as a trainer facilitator focuses on the dynamic domains of human resource development. Dr. Viveik Pandit is also a British Council certified trainer for IELTS examinations, and Sir's endeavours under the aegis of Communication Studio continue to empower individuals in the domain of writing and speaking. I have had the honour of working with Sir as well at a point in time. We welcome you, Sir, from a fellow communication coach and mentor to another. CVR English के newsroom में आपका बहुत-बहुत स्वागत है, Sir.
Thank you so much for your kind words, and good evening to you and to your audience.
Sir, I want to jump right into the focus of my power talk with you. Women's safety in India. हमारे देश में महिलाएं कितनी सुरक्षित, सशक्त और महसूस करती हैं. Keeping the Kolkata rape murder backdrop in mind, sir, we are seeking speedy and swift justice for that young woman, and we are pushing for stricter and quicker punishment for such perpetrators. I'd like to know your thoughts on all the parties, whether they be ruling or whether they be in opposition. Should they not be coming together for a parliamentary session in solidarity to pass a bill instead of playing this blame game and turning this tragedy into a public spectacle, sir?
Anukriti, even before I begin to say anything about this topic and follow it up with answering to what you have very relevantly raised, my head, hands in shame for the sickening, abominable act which was committed. And when we think that the human, the human mind and the human action has performed at worst, we come out and deliver even, worse than what we have done before. So my heart goes out to the family. I know we've been saying such words, but imagine the kind of the turn that has taken place in that family's house. It is absolutely unthinkable. So my heart goes out to the family, and my wishes for all those victims who have we have shamed them. And when I say we, I speak for the men, specifically for the men, because I represent that gender. And right through history, I can clearly see that men have been they have been controlling things. They have been patriarchal, misogynistic, violent. You have different expressions, names to call it. And we have reached this point. We have so many gender laws which are, Anukriti, they are focused at men. The Posh Act, I know it can be applied to either of the genders, but the fingers are pointing towards men at large. And I was doing a bit of research, and we talk about women empowerment. Women contribute a mere 18% to our GDP. So, what kind of women empowerment actually exists? So, first, before we actually begin to talk about this, the facts are very important. There are 5 lakh gender related crimes which are committed. And Anukriti, those crimes that I talk about, they are registered. An FIR is possibly lodged. A case is made out of it. Just imagine the cases which don't go reported at all.
Absolutely.
So 5 lakh registered cases in a year, and you're talking about a rape every 10 minutes is being committed. So by the time this conversation winds up, 3, 4 rapes would have taken place.
I agree with
So
you, sir.
what kind of empowerment are we actually talking about? And this is definitely a sign of not of a civilized society, I would say.
So, absolutely
Yes.
agree with all these valid points made by you. Now, if we talk about Bollywood and cricket, India is consumed by these two sectors, cricket and Bollywood, when it comes to entertainment. If we talk about item numbers in our Bollywood movies, they have shaped our way of thinking for the longest period of time. When will men realize, oh my god, I thought that this was romantic, but now I know it's actually stalking? Or I thought that this was sensual in the movies, but now I know it's actually objectification? Because, sir, I feel that some sexist, horrible films do end up becoming big box office successes. It's a big contradiction. None of us believe in censorship these days. The OTT has got no censorship whatsoever. I'm a free speech person, pretty much like you. I'm disturbed. I'm disturbed because some of these films are doing really well.
The audio is really bad. It's very scratchy. Although I can make out what your question is, but the audio is really bad from your
So
end.
I'll repeat, sir. I'll repeat. I feel disturbed. I sometimes feel disturbed because these sexist, misogynist films, they do really well at the box office. And that is telling us something. It tells us that the masses and the men also want to watch such misogynistic content. Your comments on the kind of content which we are creating on Bollywood these days.
Okay. So, although the audio was bad, but I did got the drift of your question, Anukriti, and I will try my best to provide an answer to that. Anukriti, under the garb of creativity, am I audible clearly for you?
Yes, sir, you are audible to us. Sir, can you hear my voice?
voice is pretty disturbed. Yeah, this is better. This is definitely better.
Are creating a lot of misogynistic content in Bollywood and men are consuming it. It is a very disturbing fact for me. Your thoughts on this matter?
Okay, so yeah, very true. Under the garb of creativity and under the garb of entertainment, we have been dishing out a lot of nonsense, and nonsense to the extent which is rather a hit, which is accepted by the audience, and that is also a reflection of the way the human beings actually exist on this planet. There's a darker side of every individual, but Bollywood and specifically by way of certain songs, certain films, they have been providing fodder to that base level instincts of a man. So you're absolutely right. But Anukriti, at this point, I would look at things very differently. The previous panel that I heard, which you were in conversation with, that lady was also talking about a special parliament session, and with every member coming together and then passing a new law, new bill should be introduced, a new act should be enacted. But already have such strong laws. We everything is there in place. You just talked about our culture. The very fact that our gods and goddesses, our scriptures, you name it, no, none of them talk about disrespecting women. So where is all of this coming from? We are all educated. We've got good orientation. Everybody's living a decent, reasonable life. And that is what is reasonably expected out of any humane individual. And yet we come out with such abominable acts. Why is all of that happening? So merely doing lip service or these candlelight marches or even making the right kind of noises or coming out with a new bill I don't think that is going to solve the problem. We are going to be on the same boat and we'll be floating the way we have been, floating all this while.
I think the best way forward could be
serene for a moment and possibly choppy very soon. We need to do certain drastic things.
For example, brutally making sure that these laws are enforced when the time comes and they are implemented. Brutally ensuring that these laws are implemented when they are required.
Okay. So again, there's a lot of talk about laws being implemented in the right spirit. But the last 10-15 days, you've already seen how the state government has responded to the situation. So we might not be there. We are thousands of kilometers away, each one of us. But look at the perception that the audience, the reader, the onlooker is feeling. Not everything is right. We have a state machinery, the entire government, the police agency is there. But yet you can very well feel that injustice has been done. And no amount of work is ever gonna make that right. And still, after so much of protest, so much of noises being created all around, it is now that we have begun to see the wheels of justice actually moving. But will it lead to that ideal situation?
We still have a long way to go. Yes, absolutely. We still have a long way.
A big question mark.
A long way to go. Sir, am I still audible to you?
Yes, you are.
So my next question, coming back to Bollywood again, when you look back at those item numbers, for example, when I was a young kid too, even back in the day, we had Helen's item numbers. When you look back at such item numbers, which we as a collective society thought were perfectly legitimate in our films earlier, what do you feel watching them today? Because these songs will stay in the archives of cinema history forever.
That is true. That is true. Visuals speak for themselves. You add words to it, you add lyrics to it, you add raunchy music to it, and they stick to you. You're definitely right. But I will play the devil's advocate here. You're very right. These things are happening which create the wrong impression. And but my question to you is, we are what, 140 crore? That number seems to have imprinted on our mindset. 140 crore people actually watch those songs and videos. Does each one of us turn into a rapist, or do we behave in a different manner?
Not at
No,
all. No,
that is
no.
not the point. And for us to simply blame Bollywood, even that would not be nice. After all, we all are human beings, and there are limits of decency to which that we adhere to, right? That is the
Absolutely.
basic requirement that each one of us is expected of. So, as I said, something more deep has to be done, because the way we have been behaving, despite all the progress, despite all the laws being there in place, is still not adding up to the situation that we find ourselves in. So the legitimate question is, what exactly should be done? And if you permit me, Anukriti, I would like to uh, share, suggest slash
That was going to
suggest
be, yes, sir, that was
one
going to be my next question. I want you to suggest.
workable idea
I want you to suggest
that
what can be done
can be.
at the fundamental level. At the fundamental level, what can we do to bring about some kind of a societal reform? That was going to be my next question to you. Please suggest, sir.
All right, all right. So you know, as a trainer, as a writer, I'm constantly looking not only at the problem but also to the possible plausible solution that can be provided, because ultimately we all are working to make our lives better, happier, joyful. So this situation that we find ourselves, and I'm talking about both men and women here, because somewhere even women have contributed to the situation that we find ourselves in. And but the blame, I think the 90% blame would still lie on the men. So the men need to undergo a lot of correction. And for this, I have a very simple yet a revolutionary idea which can be implemented right away, and that can possibly attack the psyche of the individuals. So what I suggest, each working place across India, where men and women are working, at least 50% of the men, 50% of the men, there should be at least one day assigned every week, Anukriti, where the men should come dressed up as a woman. 50% of the working force of male should come at least once every week
A very radical
dressed up.
approach. Yes.
They have to change their personality, and I'm not saying behave like women, but they have to actually put on that facade of being a woman, and they would be treated as such, and they cannot use the women's loo. They will only the males restroom will be accessible to them. All males at least once every week need to undergo this exercise, and this is an ongoing process.
An
And
ongoing
likewise,
process where they enter into the psyche of a woman and feel for themselves what a woman goes through.
absolutely. And this exercise has to go on, and it should be business as usual. So that means they travel like a woman, they do work like a woman, they are there in meetings, making presentations, They are doing all kinds of things, but dressed as a woman. Only 50%. So the remaining 50% of the males need to participate as men. You get my point?
I
So
absolutely do.
we must
When
begin
they
doing
behave,
this.
when they dress like a woman, when they put on that outer persona and that facade of a woman, and they have to go through, when they have to go through the humdrums of life, the normal routines of life as a woman, dressed like her, working like her, being surrounded by men who are dressed like men, they start to actually get into the psyche of a woman. They enter the mind of a woman, and they can feel for themselves how a woman feels when a man gives them a dirty look or makes a snide remark at them. They can start to feel what a woman, oh my God, feels suddenly. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Viveik Pandit, who had joined us all the way from Lucknow, expressing his thoughts and ideas on the current hot scenario of India, where each and everybody, regardless of gender, is talking about just one thing. Are women safe anywhere in India? Are women safe in their homes? Are women safe in their workplace? Regardless of the profession, regardless of the industry. Remember, we are not just talking about doctors here. We are not just talking about medical students here. We are talking about women by and large, and we are talking about their safety across the board, across the industry sector. And Dr. Viveik Pandit sir had some interesting, highly radical points and insights to share with all of us. And on that note, we are here with a wrap on the Power Talk with me, Anukriti Sharma. I shall see you once again tomorrow at 7 p.m. with another fantastic guest to talk on another burning issue of the nation. Until then, to everybody, Jai Hind, Namaskar, and keep watching CVR English.